Welcome to Oakland. On the heels of a dramatic walk-off win at Rogers Center, the Blue Jays open up a 10-game road trip here in Oakland at O.K Coliseum. They'll send R.A. Dickey to the mound to open up this 4-game set against the A's. Dickey has pitched well against Oakland in the past. Now it's time to take a look at the Blue Jays lineup. Top of the order, Jose Reyes has been a red-hot hitter against Oakland this season. He's gone 5 for 11 with a double and an RBI. Edwin Encarnacion with his third walk-off home run in yesterday's game is riding a 10-game hit streak. He's hit .429 over that stretch with 3 homers and 7 RBIs. Lind is at first base. Encarnacion, again, you'll notice, is in left field for a second straight day. And they are set to take on young Sonny Gray of the A's.
Sonny Gray got off to a great start this season, but he's really come back down to earth lately. Struggled the last month, his ERA approaching 6 over the last month, covering his last 6 starts. He's pitched a season-low 5 innings last Saturday. He gave up a season-high 5 runs in that ball game at Miami. They say that his breaking ball is just not as crisp as it was at the beginning of the season. Blue Jays are in still tough, though, against Sonny Gray's. Got some good stuff.
Take a look at the outfield defense for the Oakland A's. Cespedes, Gentry, and Brandon Moss from left to right. Alberto Callaspo, the third baseman. Lowry and Sogard up the middle. Nate Fryman is at first base, and the catcher Stephen Vogt, who's just been called up from AAA and is swinging a hot bat.
And we get a chance to see Yoenis Cespedes in left field. He missed the last couple of games, DH'd it because of a hamstring problem, but he's back out in left field. He leads the American League in outfield assists with 10. He's tied with Michael Brantley in that regard. He's had some of the greatest throws that I've ever seen in baseball this season. He's got a fantastic arm, and he's a fantastic athlete.
Overall, the A's have 23 outfield assists as a team. They're second in the majors to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Sonny Gray is set. Reyes is ready. Here's the first pitch of the ball game. It's up and away, and we are underway. Reyes, we mentioned his run against Oakland. He is 5 for 11 against the A's this year in that 3-game series at Rogers Center. This is a pop-up behind shortstop. Jed Lowry out. He makes the catch, 1 down.
Something to keep our eyes on the first part of this ball game. 6 o'clock start out here on the West Coast. The shadows are going to play a part, I think, at the beginning of this game. It's twilight. It's going to be tough to pick up the baseball.
Sonny Gray retires Jose Reyes. He's been doing that all year long. The leadoff hitters are hitting just 144 against Sonny Gray this year. That's always a big out, that first out of an inning. Melky Cabrera will step in. Melky over 300. As he often does, he takes that first pitch, has a look at it, see what Sonny Gray's featuring tonight. Sonny Gray came up last year and really made a splash down the stretch for the Athletics. Pitched 2 games in the postseason. Matched up both times against Justin Verlander of the Tigers.
He didn't out-pitch him, but he came close, didn't he?
He pitched a 0-0 game against Verlander in Game 2 of the ALDS. It was a scoreless game into the bottom of the 9th. Oakland won it 1-0. Curveball hit on the ground. Eric Sogard flips to Fryman, 2 down. Jose Bautista still the DH, but his presence in the lineup has been very important for the Blue Jays.
He's just made everybody around him better. This is the changeup off of Marco Estrada. First inning got the Blue Jays a run and got them off and running in that game, and then homered again in the first inning. This time off of Willie Peralta. Time the fastball out over the plate. His presence means a lot in this lineup for the Blue Jays. He makes the guys in front of him better and the guys behind him better.
Well, let's see if he can do it 3 days in a row. First inning home run with 2 outs. 17 for the season for Jose. He's got a .304 average. You hit a home run against Sonny Gray, you're doing something. He's allowed just 6 homers all season long, and they've all been solo home runs. There's that good breaking ball.
Throws a lot of strikes. You're right. That curveball has been his bread and butter this year. It's been a great pitch for him. but over his last few starts, it just hasn't been as crisp as it was earlier in the season.
Tried to go upstairs and missed away. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Were in the first. Sonny Gray's 24 years old. He went to Vanderbilt University. He was a first-round pick in 2011. Curveball. Bautista lays off.
Boy, that's something that I have been amazed when I watch Bautista. And I asked Kevin Seitzer about that. How are they able to lay off those pitches? He said because they're thinking about hitting the ball back through the middle.
He's able to flare that into foul territory and stay alive. That was a last-second decision. He saw that high breaking ball and recognized it was going to be a strike.
Yeah, he would have been walking back to the dugout. But Seitzer says, think about the fastball and think about the middle of the field. And when they hang something and they got something for you to hit, if you're thinking in the middle, that front shoulder is going to stay in there.
Bouncing ball. Bautista will be out. He grounds out 6-3 to end the inning. Good start for Sonny Gray. 3 up, 3 down. R.A. Dickey will take the mound here in Oakland when we come back. Swept at the hands of the Detroit Tigers. Blue Jays swept them earlier in the season at Rogers Center. They'll try to get things turned around here in Oakland. Top of the order is John Jaso. He's the DH. Alberto Callaspo has always hit well against the Blue Jays. He's a switch hitter that has really given them fits over his career. A .331 average, 4 homers, 21 RBIs, and right behind him, Yoenis Cespedes, the left fielder. He's got a 15-game hit streak going. He's hit .344, pair of home runs and 13 RBIs, and they are set to take on R.A. Dickey, the knuckleballer.
R.A. Dickey faced Oakland back on May the 24th and threw his finest ball game of the season in that game. 8 1/3 innings, gave up just 2 earned runs to the Oakland A's. Since then, since May 24th, he's only won 1 game. Since then, he's trying to avoid losing 4 straight for the first time since May of 2004.
Dickey tried to get that fastball over to Jaso and missed, and there's one hit, one hop sharply to Kawasaki. Jaso's retired. Take a look at the defense in the outfield. Edwin Encarnacion didn't get a ball in left field in yesterday's start. He's back out there. Anthony Gose is in center. Colby Rasmus a little bit of a wrist problem. Melky Cabrera is in right. Francisco Reyes, Kawasaki, and Lynn from third to first. And Josh Tolley is handling the Gold Glover, R.A. Dickey, tonight.
They need some speed in the outfield. Gose going to take over for Rasmus with that hand injury, especially with Edwin in left field. You can see him checking on Encarnacion to his right.
Callaspo fouls it off. He's behind 0-2. Alberto Callaspo came to the A's last year right at the trade deadline in a trade with the Angels. Grant Green went to Anaheim. So foul out of play. Callaspo's 31 years old. He is from Maracay, Venezuela. He originally signed with the Angels, but came to the major leagues with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
He's also a switch hitter, and he is elected to switch hit right-handed against R.A. Dickey.
And Dickey strikes him out. Callaspo caught looking at strike 3. 2 up, 2 down for Dickey here in the first.
Last couple of starts for R.A., his knuckleball has been really good at moving everywhere, late movement. And in this ballpark, the wind swirls. It's a little windy down on that field. That time, that knuckleball, there was no movement on it. And he caught Callaspo by surprise.
Yoenis Cespedes, the left fielder, will bat with 2 outs. Cespedes 3 for 9 in his career against R.A. Dickey. Hit a home run against Dickey in Game 2 of that 3-game series at Rogers Center.
He won't get cheated at the plate.
He is the reigning home run derby champ from the All-Star game. I'm sure he and Bautista had a little discussion about the possibility of him joining him.
Maybe a little pregame meeting.
There's a ball hit into center field. Anthony Gose is there, and it's a quick inning for R.A. Dickey. Both pitchers off to a good start. It's scoreless after 1 in Oakland. Ended things yesterday in a dramatic way.
It looked like they were trying to pitch around him, and they hung a breaking ball to Edwin. And that ball is hammered into the second deck in left field for the game winner for Encarnacion. A great approach at the plate. He took a couple of sliders off the plate when they hung him. He was ready and delivered for the Blue Jays.
Well, he's been delivering all year long. 281 average, 26 and 69. Terrific first half for Encarnacion.
Kevin Seitzer told him, "Do you know they were trying to pitch around you?" And he said, "No."
It didn't work.
It didn't work.
Gray throws a first pitch curveball outside. Edwin is 0 for 3 against the A's right-hander. It's a good fastball. Edwin has a 10-game hit streak in which he's gone 15 for 35. That's a 429 average. Curveball ripped to left field for a base hit. Gray hung that curveball up out letter high, and Encarnacion hit it into left. First hit for the Jays.
Boy, he has become such a good breaking ball hitter, and that's what you're going to have to do, I think, against Sonny Gray. Let's take a look at his pitch usage. He'll use the fastball about 56% of the time, and it's about 92, 94 miles an hour. His curveball, I think, is his best pitch. Batters are hitting just 186 against that curveball, mixing a slider and a changeup also. Sliders still pretty good as they're hitting just over 200 against him. He's a strike thrower. He's going to attack the plate. He's going to be all over the place in that strike zone, so you got to be ready.
Adam Lind takes the fastball upstairs. Lind having a fine season, 341 average. Most of his work, of course, has come against right-handed pitchers.
And he, too, has become a very good breaking ball hitter.
There's a base hit down the left field line. Encarnacion is hustling around second, headed for third. He will stop at third. Lind will jog into second, and Lind is really limping as he went into second base. He's been hampered by that foot after fouling a ball off his foot, and he was really struggling to get to second base.
You've got Cespedes in left field who can really throw, but he gives him this ball down the left field. Let's take a look at him. He's hustling all the way, and he's thinking, too, right out of the box. Looked like he might have slipped just a little bit on the wet turf. Boy, look at that. That is not a good sign.
He took an awkward step in an effort to get to first base, and then he really limped into second. For Lind, that's his 16th double. Blue Jays have something working here against Gray in the second. Juan Francisco, you can bet he's going to get a lot of curveballs from the A's right-hander.
It's his best pitch. And Juan, it was a good sign yesterday how he hit that breaking ball out of the ballpark for a home run. Stayed back on it nicely.
Hit that home run off Willie Peralta. Fastball just upstairs.
That's to set up his curveball right there. Change the eye plane of the batter. Stand him up just a little bit and then come right back with the breaking ball.
Oh, and 2, nobody out. Runners at second and third.
Willie Peralta had a good breaking ball, but Francisco stayed back on it. You can see not a lot of movement. And against his former team, the Milwaukee Brewers, that's got to feel pretty good as he homers.
Little satisfaction for sure. Brewers let him go in the spring, and the Blue Jays picked him up. He went around and both blocks the ball and will put the tag on Francisco. First strikeout for Gray.
You don't have to throw it in the strike zone when you got this kind of curveball. Francisco had to know that that was coming. And strikes out.
Sunny with strikeouts. That's the forecast for the Oakland fans here in O.co Coliseum. Munenori Kawasaki. Kawasaki, 246 for the season. Blue Jays with an early opportunity against Oakland.
Yeah, this is where they have to get some production right here. The bottom of the lineup, they're not as deep as they were in May when they were winning and hitting everything, but they have to get some production from these guys. Second and third, nobody out. You got to figure out a way to get these runs in.
Yeah, put it in play. Obviously, you want to get it over the infield. Another left-hander on deck, Anthony Gose.
They are giving the Blue Jays a run with this defense. The corners are playing in, so if you just keep the ball in the middle of the diamond, a ground ball, you get an RBI.
What are the instructions Rivera will give to Encarnacion at third in this situation?
Make sure the ball gets by the pitcher on the ground. Anything on the corner, that's first base or third base, you got to see it through.
Kawasaki takes ball 4. That'll load the bases. Been a little bit of a struggle for Sonny Gray. His first 10 starts, he was very good. 5-1 ERA under 2. But over the last 6, it looks as though the league might be adjusting to him a bit.
Just a little bit. And, you know, it's tough to pitch at the big league level. He made 10 starts last year for the Oakland A's, and now it's the second time through the through the league, and they're starting to figure him out. And they're being a little bit more patient. There's no question he's got great stuff.
Anthony goes with the bases loaded. Goes after the first pitch. Fryman tags the runner, and the umpire at first says safe. They get the force out. Now, this is going to be interesting. The first base umpire, Vic Carapazza, said no tag. And now they get the force out at home. Carapazza waved safe. Fryman made a swipe at Kawasaki at first.
This is going to be interesting to put this together. It looked like he tagged the runner at going from first to second, so then the force play at home is out. Let's watch it right here on the replay. That's a tag.
But the umpire at first said no tag, so this is really interesting. Carapazza is the first base umpire. John Gibbons is talking with him. And Vic Carapazza waved safe after the swipe by Fryman at first. But he clearly tagged Kawasaki, which would have taken the force off at home.
And then the run should count.
Then the run scores.
Can they review this right here and make sure that they tagged him?
I don't think this is a reviewable play. It's the tag play at first, and now they're going to ask the umpire at second. Bill Miller, who's the crew chief, would have had a good angle of the play at first base. Carapazza is the umpire at first that made the safe sign, indicating no tag by Fryman.
But for me, he clearly tagged him. And then that takes the force out off at home.
And Vogt made no attempt to tag Encarnacion, who came across the plate.
All he had to do is tag him and then go to first base. I don't know why he called him safe, because it sure looked like he tagged him right in the backside.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting how they sort this out. On the field, it is a fielder's choice force at home. 2 outs. That's the way the situation stands. Encarnacion was out on the 3-2 force play. Fielder's choice. But the umpires, obviously, they sense that something is amiss.
Yeah, because they're all talking and it's taking a long time. I think John Gibbons has a good argument here.
He sure does. But now here comes Bill Miller, who's the crew chief, going to try to explain the situation to John Gibbons. Vic Carapazza indicating no tag. What he saw, we could see in replay that Kawasaki was tagged out. I would imagine they can review the tag play.
That's what I think.
So you can review the tag play and say, okay, if Kawasaki is out, then the force out at home is not in play. And here's the replay.
Clearly.
He tagged him clearly.
Clearly tagged him.
What's also interesting, if he didn't tag him, you could call him for out of the baseline. And Bill Miller at second base was in line to see the base path.
Well, if you call him out of the baseline and the throw goes home, you still have to tag him out at home.
Still have to tag the guy at home. So Encarnacion should be able to score on this play.
Yes.
So as it stands, the ruling is fielder's choice, force out at home.
Bases loaded, 2 outs.
Bases loaded, 2 outs. Every day you come to the ballpark, you're going to see something you've never seen before.
I've been in this game 39 years. I've never seen this happen before, ever.
And it's just a unique set of circumstances. Kawasaki, with his lead at first, broke for second. Fryman backhanded it and tagged him all in the same motion. And there's the tag right there. Now, as you let that roll, you'll see that above that, the umpire at second base, Bill Miller, has a clear sign of where the base path is. So there are many things that come into play in this. There's the force out at the plate. Vogt made no attempt to tag the runner, which he could have done.
Sure.
He wasn't there yet. So this one has been sent to New York, and it's under review.
And I'll tell you what, win or lose, I want to hear the explanation on this one. Here's the play from high home. Watch the umpire at first base. That's Vic Carapazza. Says safe.
Clearly indicating he thought there was no tag. So that would leave the force out in order. And that's why, as it stands, Encarnacion is out for the second out of the inning. Yeah, I'd like to be involved in this conversation right now.
I'd love to be listening in on this and trying to get an explanation. Because from what I saw, and the base runner will create his own running lane. He was tagged while he was in his running lane and then exited out of the running lane.
You know what's really interesting? We had both managers thrown out of the game in the 8th inning yesterday. We might have a similar situation tonight. And the whole premise of the instant replay, the expansion of instant replay, was to get it right. This might take a while.
I don't know. I mean, an umpire calls him safe. He was clearly out. Clearly he was out.
So if you review that part of the play, then Kawasaki should be out on the tag play. And the run should be allowed to score because there's no force out, and Vogt didn't make an attempt. Okay, so now let's take it a step further. If you reverse the tag play and say he's out, how can you change the outcome of what Encarnacion did?
If you call him out, I don't think you can. Are you saying they're going to put him back out on the bases or something? I don't think they can.
No, they have to allow the run to score.
The challenge from what we just heard is the Blue Jays are challenging the tag.
That's all they have to challenge.
Yeah.
If they challenge the tag and they look at the review we saw,
he's out.
He's out. And that's what John Gibbons wants right here.
He wants an out to get a run.
He wants Kawasaki to be out. And obviously this one's taking a long time. Bill Miller is the crew chief. He's on the left, and they have a decision.
Or do they?
Looks like they're ready to deliver the verdict. Kawasaki is out. That run scores. Exactly. They got it right, and now here comes Bob Melvin, and this is the one. Don't come out here. You can't come out here. Now they threw out John Gibbons in a similar situation yesterday.
But I think he deserves an explanation on that, because that was a crazy play right there. And Bob's probably saying, hey, just give me an explanation so I know what the ruling was.
So Ghost gets an RBI on the fielder's choice. Kawasaki is out.
After further review,
3 unassisted. Encarnacion comes in to score. And the Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead. Bill Miller, one of the more senior umpires in baseball. Now it looks as though Melvin's going to protest. So now Bill Miller is headed for the phone to inform both John Gibbons and the press box that the game is being played under protest. And the protest would be that the interpretation is incorrect. Now they're back on the headset. Are they reviewing another aspect of the play?
Probably if he was out of the baseline, but that shouldn't have anything to do because he tagged him while he was in the baseline.
Well, and the run at home plate, Encarnacion, the runner from third, was never tagged. They made a play as if it were a force play, which it wasn't once Kawasaki was out.
Can you make an argument that the catcher saw the safe play, so he assumed?
That's what I was getting to before.
Yeah.
So now how can you change the ruling? He was reacting to the safe call at first.
By the umpire.
Yeah. So you change that call. And do you penalize the catcher for that? It's an ongoing situation with the expanded replay, that's for sure. Bob Melvin went to the University of California at Berkeley, about 5 miles north of here. And he's a baseball guy, and he grew up in this area. He's seen a lot of baseball. I bet you he hasn't seen that before.
No, I bet you haven't, but he certainly had a comeback to the umpires.
Yeah, and he has pushed the umpires back to review. They're obviously reviewing another aspect of this play. You talk about a game coming to a screeching halt. Now, Bill Miller has some information for Bob Melvin. Protest. There it is. He is putting the P on there. The game is being played under protest. So Bob Melvin has protested the game according to the interpretation of what the umpires decided on that last play. It means that the game will be played under protest. If the A's lose, then the protest will be heard as far as the ruling on the field. If the A's win, the protest, of course, goes away.
If they win the game, the protest goes away. If they lose the game by 1 run, and that run right there, they win the protest, they take the run off the board, then what happens?
Then they have to replay the game from the point of the protest.
That's right.
Josh Thole, the catcher, after all of that. The Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead.
Now, Sonny Gray has been standing out on the mound. He's been throwing a little bit. If I'm Anthony Gose, I'm taking off on the first pitch right here.
Not running. Thole takes one down and away. Louis Rivera, the third base coach, going through his signs to Anthony Gose. Gose has an aggressive lead at first.
And he has the green light anytime he wants to run. The Blue Jays will give him the stop sign when they don't want him to run, whatever that sign is. But he has the green light whenever he feels like he can steal a base.
Gose has 5 steals. He's been caught 3 times. Two and 1. Josh Thole is 0 for his last 21, and he has 3 strikeouts during that stretch. Of course, his play is very intermittent, once every 5 days.
Tough to get that batting stroke and keep it when you're playing once every 5 days.
I would think this would be a great time for Gose to take off. 2 balls and a strike, 2 outs. You scored a run this inning. Gray had a lengthy delay to deal with.
And he threw a couple of balls off the mound right there, and you get him running and you get somebody moving in the infield.
Ground ball. Thole is out. What an interesting inning. A lot happening, but the Blue Jays end up with a run. They take a 1-0 lead. The game is being played under protest.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Brought to you by the 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays. And by Home Hardware, homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Oakland, California, 4th of July weekend out here on the West Coast. The Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead, and I can't even explain to you how they scored it.
I know who scored it, but I don't know how they scored it.
Well, the Blue Jays got a leadoff single from Encarnacion. Lind hit a double. And Encarnacion came in to score. On a fielder's choice, Anthony Ghost gets the RBI, and R.A. Dickey has a 1-0 lead. So there you go. Brandon Moss will lead things off. Boy, Brandon Moss has really found a home here in Oakland. It is not unlike what's happened with Jose Bautista and the Toronto Blue Jays. Moss started out his career with Pirates, bounced around Boston, Pittsburgh, a little bit of Philly. But when he got here to Oakland, he had an extended opportunity to play, and he's made the most of it.
And in those earlier days when you watch Brandon Moss, you're like, okay, he's all right. He's, an average or maybe a slightly above average hitter. He comes here in a pitcher's ballpark. This is not a very easy place to put up the numbers that he has put up. And he's blossomed into a star.
Last year, Moss hit 30 home runs and drove in 87 runs. Chili Davis, the hitting coach for the A's, had to talk with Moss about being himself. Don't try to be anybody else. Be yourself. If you're a power hitter, let's be a power hitter. Dickey loses him. A leadoff walk here in the second. Well, Blue Jays starting out on a 10-game road trip, and it is a challenge. You took a look at the 10 games. 4 games here in Oakland, 3 down in Anaheim. And oh, by the way, if you haven't heard, the Angels starting to play good baseball, and so are the Rays.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one right here for John Gibbons and his staff. The A's, they have the best record in the American League, and then anytime you come on the West Coast, it is tough. Time change, everything else that goes along with it, and the teams that are really good. The Los Angeles Angels, 47-36 now, just 3.5 games behind the Oakland A's.
Jed Lowry, the shortstop, gets out of the glove of Tolan, not far enough for Moss to advance. One thing we have to point out, with that review of the very controversial play that allowed the Blue Jays to score, R.A. Dickey spent 24 minutes on the bench. He had a long half inning on the bench. There's a pop-up that's going to be out. The warning track into the seats. Jed Lowry, the shortstop, is now 30 years old. This is his second year in Oakland. Last year he had a career-high 175 hits. He's a switch hitter that's batting right-handed as well.
Yeah, and getting on top of that plate and really making sure that Dickey throws that knuckleball up in the strike zone.
Nelke in right battling that sun, and it's an unusual start time. 1 out. Let's check in with Eric Smith. He's got an update for us.
Batting in the 6th position, the catcher, number 21, Steven Vogt.
Thank you, Eric. Scott Baker starting for the Rangers, and Adam Jones already has a hit. Wei-Yin Chen is pitching for the Orioles. Baltimore is a game behind the Blue Jays. They have won 3 in a row. Steven Vogt, the catcher, started out the season in AAA Sacramento. Voted Sacramento, played in 21 games, hit .364 and drove in 19 runs.
He has carried that right here into the big leagues.
Encarnacion has misplayed that ball that's over his head. He plays it back off the wall. They're going to try to score the run. Now they stop Moss at third base. Mike Gallego, the third base coach for Oakland, waved Moss around third, and then when the cutoff throw was on line, he stopped him right at the end.
Edwin's first shot at a ball in left field. I'll tell you, off of a left-hander, this ball gets out there quickly if you're not used to it. You can see right there it's going to be over his head. Now, he did the next best thing. He got it and got it to the cutoff man as quickly as possible. That's why they were able to stop that runner from scoring from first base. Moss sees it. He's out in front. He knows that he's not going to catch it. He gets the ball to Reyes, and they've got to hold him up.
Encarnacion making just his 4th start in the outfield. He started yesterday because Bautista still has to DH, and they want to keep all of their bats intact. Nate Fryman.
You know, the hardest play about an infielder going to the outfield, you're just not sure how hard that ball is hit. And it gets out to you quickly. You can take fungo after fungo, but once you get into a game with the fans and everything, it is tough to read the bat and to see that ball come out at you. Encarnacion lunges at that ball, but his first reaction on that ball, he just wasn't real sure. And that's to be expected, Buck.
It's a dramatic adjustment to go from the infield to the outfield. Nate Fryman, big power hitter, hits this one into center field. Anthony goes coming quickly, dives, he can't make the blow. Moss is in to score. They're waving Vogt around, and now he gets stopped late. Gallego waved him all around third, and then saw Kawasaki have the cutoff and stops him.
Well, that's what you have to do. You have to keep the guy running until you see that cutoff throw, if it's going to be a good one. That ball kept slicing away from Anthony Gose. It looked like it was just going to be a fly ball and he was going to catch it, but it kept slicing and slicing, and then he dives for it and can't come up with it. Misses it, knocks the glove off. Melky Cabrera backs it up and gets the ball back in quickly to hold that runner.
Fryman, just up from the minor leagues, picks up his 4th RBI, 2nd and 3rd. 1 out. Eric Sogard, that ball gets away from Tolley. Here comes Vogt, and the A's have taken the lead. So Oakland has taken advantage of a misplayed ball and now a pass ball that gets away from Josh Tolley. Stephen Vogt down at third base reads it perfectly. As soon as it hits off the glove, he breaks for home. Fryman moves from 2nd to 3rd, and Oakland has taken a 2-1 lead. Now the infield is drawn in. This is popped back out of play.
The A's are a very opportunistic team. They play the game of baseball. If you make mistakes defensively, they have an act of taking advantage of it.
They've won the division the last 2 years. People forget just how good this club is. 0-2 to Sogard. Dickey strikes him out. Big strikeout for Dickey. Number 2 on the evening.
What you can't have is a long swing against the guy throwing a knuckleball. That's a good one right there. Foul tip right into the glove of Josh Tolley. Holds on to it for a big strikeout.
R.A. Dickey walked the first batter of this inning after a 24-minute half inning that included that lengthy video review. Craig Gentry playing in center field tonight. Nice grab by Tolley on that knuckleball that took off.
Gentry is playing center field tonight for the Oakland A's. Coco Crisp just 2 for 22 in his career versus R.A. Dickey. Been playing every day, so Gentry gets the start.
Yeah, that's the role of an extra player. Hey, you get to start tonight. Good luck. You get to play against the knuckleballer.
You get the knuckleballer. And wouldn't you know it, his first at-bats, he's got a runner in scoring position and 2 outs.
Gentry's 0 for 3 in his at-bats against Dickey. Nate Fryman at third. The A's were swept at the hands of the Tigers in Detroit. There's a line drive snared by Kawasaki. That'll end the inning. But Oakland takes advantage of the leadoff walk. They have taken the lead 2-1. When we come back, it's the top of the order. Jose Reyes, Melky Cabrera, Jose Bautista. The Jays are down by 1. Bautista leading off for the Blue Jays here in the top of the third. Edwin Encarnacion will bat fourth. And today in the USA Today, in the sports section, there was a terrific article written about the Dominican domination, and the Blue Jays have 5 Dominicans that really provide an awful lot of power. And Jose Bautista is quoted as saying the camaraderie is big in a sport like this, and many of these players have grown up with each other playing winter ball. They played on the WBC, and the second year that they've been together, they had the ability to develop some chemistry, and it's really paid off.
The article talked a lot about the diversity of that group, just like the diversity in the great city of Toronto and how well they have meshed together within the city also. And the top 4 hitters in this lineup for the Blue Jays all come from the Dominican Republic, are probably the 4 best hitters in the top 4, I think, in all of baseball, because you've got diversity, you've got speed in Reyes, you got a great hitter in Cabrera, and you've got power and production from Bautista and Encarnacion.
And just for good measure, you have Juan Francisco down in the order with 13 home runs. And he's the youngster that's just learning from all these veterans, but you can bet he's thrived in this atmosphere as well.
And talk about the World Baseball Classic Championship that the Dominican Republic won in 2013, and how they would like to bring that to the city of Toronto and the country of Canada. Tell you what, they are dynamic.
Melky Cabrera did not participate in that. Reyes and Encarnacion did. And of course, Robinson Cano was the leader of that team, and they all really relished the championship. They were the first team other than Japan to win the championship. Jose Bautista is the DH tonight because he has to DH. Edwin Encarnacion has been forced into the outfield just to keep everybody's bat in the lineup, and you can see Edwin was concerned when he came off the field because he misplayed that ball. It looked like Bautista was trying to console him, saying, hey, you're doing the best you can.
Well, one thing you can do is play deep because it's easier to come in on the ball. Sonny Gray has a good curveball, and he's going to show it right here to Jose Reyes. Jose knew it was a strike. Good pitch by Gray, who's now pitching with the lead.
Gray has 2 strikeouts so far. He'll deal with Melky Cabrera with 1 out. Changeup missed down and away. Milwaukee grounded out to second in the first inning. We mentioned Gray went to Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. He grew up in a small town about 30 minutes south of Nashville. He was a terrific two-sport star. He was a quarterback on the state championship team. They won back-to-back state championships. And you and I both really like two or three sport players. First of all, it gives them rest physically. Their muscles get a chance to recuperate from one sport to another. But secondly, I think football gives you a total different group of disciplines than baseball. Certainly as a quarterback, you have to have leadership skills.
Yeah, it's a great combination, football and baseball. He was a quarterback. As he walks it right there. I also like the fact that athletes that play other sports, I think you can learn the game of baseball and you can be taught things on the baseball field if you're a good athlete. And if you can play other sports, you're obviously a good athlete.
Jose Bautista grounded out to short. He bats with Milwaukee at first. Second walk issued by Gray. Ball in the dirt. Nice scoop. We'll go back to last August. Last time the Blue Jays saw Gray.
Fastball right out over the plate. And Jose Bautista, I'll tell you, when he's got a book on a guy and he understands what they're trying to do to him, he doesn't miss that pitch very often. There are his numbers right there against Sonny Gray. He's 3 for 4.
And 3 hits in that game against Gray last time that they faced one another.
Now, I'm sure Sonny Gray remembers that home run also, and he's going to try and diffuse Bautista.
That's a fair ball. Nice play by Callaspo. He looked at second, and Bautista, who is running cautiously with that hamstring injury, is out at first. Cabrera moves into second. Callaspo with a terrific grab of that bouncing ball. That was headed down the left field line.
Yeah, that was a double all the way, but Callaspo, who is playing in the place of Josh Donaldson, who's out with a back injury, throws the ball across the diamond. Now, if Jose is healthy, I think he beats that out. But he has to protect that hamstring.
Edwin Encarnacion scored the Blue Jays run. He singled into second to lead things on. Two outs. Oakland has a 2-1 lead. Edwin appears as though he's looking for a particular pitch and might be looking for that breaking ball.
He'll do that. He'll go up there and he'll look for certain pitches and certain spots.
That single in the second extended his hit streak to 11 games. Good ball. That one gets away from Vogt. Encarnacion called for the swing. Cabrera moves to third. But now Encarnacion with a 1-2 count.
Checks his swing and they call strike. As Melky Cabrera moves up on that pitch. Tell you what, it's really tough right now to see. When you're at the plate right now, you're standing in the shadows. The pitcher is in the shadows, and you look out behind the pitcher, and it's bright sunshine. Tough to pick up the breaking ball right now.
Hitters like to see the rotation of the seams, and everything is blurred right now. Fastball. Encarnacion caught looking. Couple of strikeouts for Gray in the third. Blue Jays leave a runner at third. We'll go to the bottom of the third. 2-1 Oakland.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Brought to you by the 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
The San Francisco Bay Area. We are across the bay in the East Bay, Oakland, California.
Batting number 5, John Jason.
First of 4 here in Oakland, John Jaso, the leadoff man. He's the DH tonight. Jaso fouls it off. It's a 1-1 count. Jaso grounded out to second base his first time up.
A's really shuffled up their lineup tonight, didn't they, against Dickey, trying to snap out of the funk that they have been in?
Yeah, they have really benched a couple of regulars, give them a break. All-Star game coming up, opportunity to get everybody re-energized. Bob Melvin choosing not to start Donaldson, Crisp, and Daniel Norris. Derek Norris, catcher.
It has been a grind for them. They just came off their 4th road trip of 3 cities. And they went to Detroit and just got swept by the Tigers. So he's given some of the guys some time off.
So fly ball into center, goes turned around and gets there easily, makes the catch. 1 down. Well, the Blue Jays have a little bit of a downturn after a great month of May, 12 and 15 in June. You see, they still have a game lead over the Orioles. Teams are even in the loss column, and that's the important column. You don't get those back, but Blue Jays have played 2 more games in Baltimore. The Yankees have fallen upon hard times, and I know there's a lot of people out there that won't shed a tear for that. The Yankees have lost 5 straight. And they got some bad news about CC Sabathia today. CC Sabathia had an MRI done on his gimpy knee, and they have shut him down indefinitely. So there is no schedule for CC Sabathia whatsoever. His knee just won't allow it.
Yeah, and you shut him down now, and now he's got to crank it back up. Let's say in 2 or 3 weeks that he's going to be better. Maybe September, maybe in the middle of September.
Now, he might be done for the season.
Yeah, and that might force the Yankees to pay up just a little bit more if they want to go out and try and acquire some pitching.
Yoenis Cespedes, the left fielder, bounced with 2 outs. Isn't it interesting how the trade scene is fluid? I think the trade season is open right now. We're in July. It's the 3rd of July. The trade deadline is July 31st. And I think CC Sabathia changes the Yankees' look, what they think about. Whatever the Yankees do certainly impacts the rest of the division. Whatever the Blue Jays do impacts the rest of the division. Everything is kind of connected.
And it changes daily, hourly, if you will.
There's a great knuckleball, and Cespedes is behind 1-2. But everybody thinks they got it figured out. Well, if we get this guy, then we'll be in good shape. We get that guy. You don't even know if those guys are available.
And you certainly can't just say, well, I'd like that guy, just make a trade for him. It's not that easy.
Yeah, it's easy for us in the media to say, well, why don't they get this second baseman? Why don't they get that reliever? And how about that starter? Well, somebody's got to pay for those deals.
Yeah.
2-2, 2 outs. Cespedes takes it down. Brandon Moss is on deck. He walked and scored in the second. On the ground, Reyes hits short, gobbles it up. Good inning for Dickey. The A's go down in order. We'll go to the 4th. It's a 2-1 Oakland lead. Here in Oakland, young right-hander Sonny Gray making the start to open up this 4-game series. We go back to the 2011 Major League Draft. It's pretty impressive when you look at the players that have come to the Major Leagues out of this draft, and certainly Garrett Cole heads the list.
Yeah, and that guy right behind him there, Jose Fernandez, 14th, going to be out with Tommy John surgery. He was having a great season. Sonny Gray picked 18th, and they got all of them. Got to the big leagues very quickly. Their organizations pushing their players and getting them through their farm system and then polishing them off here in the big leagues.
Trevor Bauer was taken 3rd in that draft. Dylan Bundy of the Orioles was 4th, and Anthony Rendon of the Washington Nationals was 6th. George Springer was 11th. I mean, it was a loaded draft, and all these players have already made an impact in the big leagues. Adam Lynn goes after it. Gray will cover the bag. Lynn's not running well at all.
Yeah, they need his bat in the lineup. You can see Adam Lynn gingerly come out of the box on that ground ball. I haven't heard anything from anybody. No one has given us any information about him. Jose Bautista is going to go check in on Adam Lynn.
Yeah, and Jose has truly become the great leader of this team. He's concerned about his teammates. Obviously, he's not 100%. And now he's probably talking to Lynn saying, you know what, if you're going to hurt yourself by being out there, you can't go out there. And the Blue Jays are banged up right now. They got 9 more games after this before the All-Star break. They'll get 4 days off for the All-Star break, a chance to lick their wounds a bit, but Lynn is not running well. Sogard in right field knocks it down. 2 down. Let's check in with Eric Smith.
Number 66, Kawasaki.
Masahiro Tanaka is on the mound for the Yankees. Phil Hughes was roughed up by his former team. 6 1/3, 8 hits, 7 earned runs given up. Kawasaki fouls off the first pitch. Everybody this time of the year is a little dinged up, and you just got to get through it and hope that you have the depth to overcome your injuries.
I was talking to Chili Davis about that around the batting cage today, that this time of the year you just have to find a way to push through it. It's a grind. Not even dinged up, you know, you foul balls off your feet, your legs might be a little tired, you're sore, you're traveling, you're playing day in, day out. Mentally you get worn down. Physically you get worn down.
I have never seen such an outbreak of general soreness as I've seen the last couple of weeks. You see guys held out of lineups because of quote-unquote general soreness. Shane Victorino, trying to rehab coming back, has been shut down for a day or two because of general soreness.
And mental fatigue.
Yeah.
I've heard that one a couple of times also. And what Chili and I were talking about is, as an athlete, you have to push through that. Yes, everybody's tired and everybody's sore, but you have to find a way to get through it and get to the All-Star break and rejuvenate yourself over those last 4 days.
Yeah, and I think there are ways to trick yourself. You can just say you take BP off. Don't take batting practice on a given day. Take infield off. Don't run out there. Of course, they don't have infield anymore, so you don't have to take that off. But just, you know, you can really conserve your energy as much as possible.
That's why I respected so much what Cal Ripken did during his playing days. He played a demanding position at shortstop. He played every inning of every game for like 10 straight seasons.
Again, you see Jose Bautista talking with Anthony Gose, and obviously they're talking about the pitcher. And Jose has had a little conference with Encarnacion. He's talked to Adam Lynn. This is what your leaders do. And he knows just what we're talking about. This is a tough time for everybody.
Yes.
Kawasaki, another terrific at bat. That'll bring Anthony Gose to the plate. The last time he was up, he started a chain reaction of events.
Something that we have never seen in this game. Bases loaded. Now the first baseman tags Kawasaki, so that takes the force out. off at home plate. John Gibbons recognized that. He's going to go out and talk to Vic Carapazza, and they say, you know what, Gibby, you're right. You are out at second base, and the run does score because the force was taken off. Now that's going to bring Bob Melvin out, and they're going to play under protest.
So Melvin came out to talk to Bill Miller, the crew chief of the umpiring staff, and Melvin protested the game. So this game is being played under protest by the Oakland manager, Bob Melvin. Kawasaki, pair of walks tonight. Anthony Gose has the Blue Jays RBI. Just fouled outside of third. That would have been interesting had that been a fair ball down the left field line. Kawasaki off on contact, was already around second base.
I tell you, there was a good chance that was going to be a run for the Blue Jays. They tried to go open away with a fastball. Goes just misses the bag down the left field line.
Good move by Gray. Fryman couldn't hold on to it. Oakland leads 2-1. Gose is called out on the swing. Gabe Morales down at third, rings him up. That ends the inning. The Blue Jays will leave a base runner. We'll head to the bottom of the fourth. The curveball has been good for Gray so far. Gose goes around. Another strikeout for the Oakland right-hander. Already this year, and he's starting to learn about himself and where his strengths lie as far as the home runs go.
And he's hitting a little bit of everything, as you can see from this chart right here. Home run by pitch type, all kind of colors, but it looks like there's a cluster down and away from him in that quadrant. Has a left-handed batter down and away from him. I saw him pull that changeup from Justin Verlander yesterday into the seats a long way. He's just become a good hitter and a very productive hitter.
It goes hand in glove with the opportunity. He has had the ability to play. Last year was his first season in which he had more than 400 at-bats. And really, it parallels Jose Bautista's career.
Yeah. Get a chance to play. You find something about yourself, a change of scenery. Next thing you know, you're one of the premier sluggers and run producers in the American League. First time up, Buck, he walked. And came around to score in the second inning.
Wow, that blocked Tolley pretty well. Hit him right on the chin and knocked him back on his heels. Brandon Moss began his career with the Boston Red Sox. He was an 8th-round pick in 2002. Had a cup of coffee with Boston in 2007 and 2008. And then he was part of a 3-team trade in July of 2008. This ball is hit into the seats down the left side.
You know, there's just a few guys who get drafted, come up through the farm system, and come up with their team and make it. There's just certain things that happen, and they might need a change of scenery. Chili Davis came from the Boston Red Sox organization, and he recommended Josh Reddick to this team. They went out and traded him. I'm sure somewhere his path crossed Brandon Moss.
When we talk about the trade deadline, and Moss was involved in a big July trade deadline trade, a 3-team trade that included Jason Bay and Manny Ramirez.
I remember that trade.
That's a hard trade to pull off in the middle of a season, to get 3 general managers involved and trade marquee players like Manny Ramirez, who went from the Boston Red Sox to the Dodgers, and Jason Bay from Pittsburgh to Boston. Craig Hansen went to Pittsburgh along with Brandon Moss. There's a high, deep drive into right, but that's going to stay in the ballpark. Melky Cabrera makes the catch. Moss is retired. But you talk about a tough trade. It's hard to pull off a trade one-on-one.
Yeah, first, one-on-one. And then you're under the gun for the trade deadline. You'll be burning up those phone lines with 3 teams involved.
Jed Lowry. You talked to Chili Davis, the hitting coach, about these switch hitters and why they're hitting right-handed against the knuckleball.
Well, he said he was a switch hitter, and he felt like he was always better hitting his natural position or natural way, which was right-handed, against the knuckleball pitcher. And I asked him why, and he said I'd like to get up on top of the plate, and it really closed the view of the pitcher who throws a knuckleball. It's hard to control, first of all, but if you're on top of the plate, that closes the window of that opportunity to throw it consistently for strikes. He told me when he was first coming up and learning to hit the knuckleball, he went to Reggie Smith, a great player and batting coach, who was also a switch hitter. Said, remember when you were a kid and you played wiffle ball? That's how you approach trying to hit a knuckleball pitcher.
Isn't that interesting? And if you remember when you played wiffle ball, all you tried to do was hit the ball with your hands.
That's right.
You didn't take a stride. You didn't think about where your hands were. You just took your hands to the baseball, and that's what they're trying to do with this knuckleball.
You look for the knuckleball up in the strike zone, and you don't try and say, okay, I'm going to hit this ball to right field, or I'm going to pull it. You're just trying to hit the ball hard. But the first thing you want to do, you want to stand tall, get on the plate, and make sure that that knuckleball is up high so you can see it.
Well, there's another good knuckler, and Jed Lowry strikes out. 3 strikeouts for Dickey. He has found his rhythm. He ran into trouble in the second inning after that lengthy delay. He was 24 minutes on the bench as they went to that long review of the controversial play that led to the A's protest.
And then walked the first batter he faced, and the significance of that walk is the walk is a big part of what the A's do offensively. And that walk got something started for him.
The A's had gone back-to-back games without a walk for the first time since 2008.
Think about that. First time back-to-back games without a walk in 6 years.
Yeah, that's always a big part of their game.
Yep. And they're leading the league again.
Stephen Vogt drives it to right. Melky Cabrera gets over and makes the catch. 3 up, 3 down. Go the A's in the 4th. We'll go to the 5th. Now it's time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Eric Smith and Greg Zahn. for every angle of the Toronto Blue Jays. Breaking news, photos, videos, and tweets. A one-stop shop for everything Blue Jays. The Blue Jays Rundown only on Sportsnet.ca. Lots of talk, lots of information, and Shai Davidi and the rest of the crew have done a great job of gathering information and putting everything in the rundown. So make sure you check it out on Sportsnet.ca.
Excellent article today with Josh Tolley, a Q&A with Josh about R.A. Dickey.
Really interesting, talking about Dickey and how he handles the ups and downs, if you will, of the knuckleball. Josh Tolley was the catcher for Dickey when he won the Cy Young Award in 2012 with the New York Mets. Tolley leading off the fifth. He grounded out the short to end the second. Tolley's always an interesting guy to talk to. We talk to him a lot, of course, about R.A. Dickey, but he also has the distinction of being the only catcher in Mets history to catch a no-hitter. He got the no-hitter of Johan Santana. There he hits one over the glove of Jed Lowry into left field for a leadoff base hit.
That'll snap a streak. 0 for Josh. That's got to feel good.
Josh Tolley snapped an 0 for 22 with that base hit. And it came at a good time. A leadoff single in the fifth.
Inside out swing, and as a hitter you're running up first base and you're saying, please get over that shortstop. I need this base hit.
How many times have I done that? Get up, please go into left field.
You're begging. You're absolutely begging.
Oh, and you admit it too. Reyes goes after the first pitch. This should be 2. Oh, they can't get it out of the glove. Eric Sogard had a good feed. The ball got stuck in his glove and he couldn't convert. Jed Lowry gave him a good feed at second. So Reyes is aboard, and they're fortunate that they're able to stay out of the double play.
Any kind of bobble right here by the second baseman, and Reyes is going to beat it. It's a good feed. He catches it, and then the transfer, he just can't get the ball in his hand to make the throw over to first base.
Sogard actually makes a good decision. When he doesn't come out of that glove cleanly, he chose not to throw it because the foul territory behind first is huge. In most ballparks nowadays, you throw that ball past first base and it's going to bounce right back to the first baseman. Not the case here in Oakland.
It never has been here. There's so much room in the foul territory.
Melky Cabrera is 0 for 1 with a walk. Fastball on the corner. It's now 2-0.
A lot of fastballs. Now with Jose Reyes over there at first base, just the threat of a steal can upset a pitcher. Take his mind off that hitter and maybe make a mistake.
Reyes is 16 for 17 in steal attempts. Well, that's another good pitch. Looked like the same pitch.
Turning that ball over. His fastball's got some movement to it. Down and away, a sinker. Melky looked like he was trying to pull the ball. You can see the right side of that infield right there is a hole that he can try and poke between first and second base, but they're not allowing him.
You saw that flip of the thumb. That generally means throw to first. Three balls and a strike, 1 out. Blue Jays trail 2-1. Melky looked like he may have been looking away, and that ball was on the inner half.
Perfect pitch to try and pull into right field. Now you got to to start that run.
Full count, 1 out. There goes Reyes. The ball is fouled off. Reyes hasn't had a stolen base in 6 games. His last stolen base came against the Yankees on the 25th of June. He's been on base, just hasn't felt comfortable with his leads and jumps. Gray is set. He'll go to first, and Reyes is back in. There goes Reyes. Another foul at the plate. The Oakland A's have always been associated with great starting pitching, and you look at the starters' ERA, they are first in the American League ahead of Seattle. That's a surprise. Seattle missed a couple of their key starters early on. Detroit right there, and you anticipate the Tigers are going to be near the top. There goes Reyes again. This is gloved by Gray. Goes to second for 1. Back to first. There's that athleticism we were talking about. Sonny Gray spears the comebacker, takes his time, and throws a strike to second. He starts the inning-ending double play. Picks up his infielder, throws a strike. Jed Lowry does the rest. Two hits in the second inning, and he has settled down nicely, but this has always been a hurdle for him. You look at his numbers this season in innings 1 through 4, it's great. 225 earned run average, opponents hitting just over 200, the whip at 1.10. Fifth inning on, gets to be a different story. Maybe the hitters are adjusting to that knuckleball as the game wears on.
Second and third times through, second time through. If you look at the numbers for Dickey, he actually increases the number of knuckleballs that he throws. And that article that we were talking about with Josh Tolley talking about R.A. Dickey says, well, maybe those are the adjustments that we need to make as the game goes along. Do we throw the harder knuckleball later into the game, or do we try to take a little something off, maybe throw a few more fastballs? Those are the adjustments that they're constantly working on. But you're right, it has been a struggle from the fifth inning on.
There you see the numbers. First time through the order, 200, 250 second time, over 300 the third time. But Dickey has been good tonight. The only hiccup he had, probably a result of a long half inning. He spent 24 minutes on the bench in the top half of the second inning. Nate Fryman will take the leadoff walk. Number 7 man is on board, second walk for the A's tonight. We had mentioned the walk is such a big part of their offense, and it goes back to the movie Moneyball. Billy Beane is the general manager of this team, and he's always put high value on on-base percentage. And he always encouraged his hitters to take a lot of pitches, work the other pitcher for the walk.
With number 1 in base on balls coming into this game in the American League at 332.
Eric Sogard, the second baseman, goes after the first pitch. Kawasaki has it go off of his glove. Kawasaki was backpedaling all the way into the outfield instead of turning and running. Melky Cabrera was deep in right field. He had a long run. But instead of turning and running to the spot, Kawasaki tried to backpedal all the way.
Never want to backpedal. He should have stayed in that position right there, but that ball kept moving on him. And what happens when you back up like that, you start to backpedal, that ball starts to bounce, and you actually lose track of it. You can see he was having trouble on that one as soon as he started backpedaling as far as he did. So what you want to do as an infielder, turn and run to a spot where you think that ball's going to come down.
It's a hit for Sogard, so it's a walk and a hit for Oakland to start the inning. The leadoff walk in the second came around to score. Craig Gentry is a great bunter.
The A's don't sacrifice. That one looked like it hit him. But they don't sacrifice. They have the fewest sacrifice bunts in the American League with just 6. And try hitting it. How about try bunting the knuckleball?
He squares around, and that appeared to hit him. But it's not a hit batter. It didn't appear to hit the bat.
Nope. But the umpire says right away that ball, I guess he attempted to bunt at it, so he's calling it a strike.
If he attempted to bunt at it and it hit him, he should be out. Pick off to second, and Fryman dives back in. Well, the A's have something working against R.A. Dickey in the 5th. First and second. Nobody out. Gentry squares again and takes a strike. Gentry, in his first season with Oakland, has 1 sacrifice bunt. He is a very good bunter for a base hit. He's always among the leaders in baseball with bunt base hits. But now with 2 strikes, you wouldn't expect that he would bunt here.
The infield is still in for some reason.
Ground ball. Francisco goes to third for the force out. He had a shot at turning a double play. Gentry runs well. He might not have been able to go around the horn for the double play, but they get the lead runner at third.
Number 5, John Diesel.
He's in. I think he has a chance right here. It's a 1-2 hopper right to him. I think he could go around the horn, and it's always better to take 2 than get that lead runner.
Ground ball. He'll have another chance. This time he goes to second. Kawasaki back to first. Jaso hits into an inning-ending double play. Francisco starts the 5-4-3 double play, so the walk-in hit don't factor in. It's 7:07 p.m. Come on down to Rogers Center early. Check out the pregame festivities happening outside of gate number 10. Win great prizes, enjoy the live music, and there's a licensed area. Gates open at 4:30 p.m., so call the Blue Jays today at 416-341-1234. Or log online at bluejays.com for Summer Friday Fan Festival. We move to the 6th. It'll be Bautista leading things off against Oakland young right-hander Sonny Gray. Jose has grounded out twice, once to short, once to third. 2-1 ball game. Bautista didn't think he went around. Home plate umpire Chad Fairchild called him for a swing.
I think Jose's asking, if you're not sure, let's just check with the first base umpire. But Chad Fairchild called that right away.
Gray comes right back with another curve. He's ahead 0-2. Gray pitched at Vanderbilt. He and David Price, two very prominent Vanderbilt baseball alumni.
That's a pitching factory, isn't it?
Mike Minor, also of the Atlanta Braves, pitched with them. But they all work out together. They all still go back to Vanderbilt and work out. The coach there opens up the workout area for them, so they're able to go work in the offseason. And Gray told me that 12, 13 major leaguers will go back there and work out in the offseason. Gray, like Price, got some early postseason experience. David Price won his first game and got his first save in the postseason as opposed to the regular season. Breaking ball, base hit. Bautista waits back and hits the curveball into left field. Leadoff single. The Oakland A's have won the AL West the last 2 seasons, and they currently have a 3.5 game lead over the Angels. Seattle, a surprising team in the West. They signed Robinson Cano in the offseason, but we showed you that Seattle starting pitching is very good as well. They're 4.5 games back. Big disappointment. The Texas Rangers have not played as well as everybody anticipated.
Well, their whole team's on the disabled list, or surely seems like that. Take those kind of players out of your lineup, of course you're not going to be very successful. Watch out for Seattle. They're starting to get their pitchers back. Iwakuma's back. He started the season on the disabled list. Taijuan Walker just started again.
James Paxton is starting to get near a rehab assignment. Bouncing ball up the middle. Lowry to Sogard, back to first. Double play. Sogard got a little hung up last inning when he couldn't turn to. This time, no problems at all.
6-4-3 double play. That's 82 now turned by the Oakland inner defense. Sogard throws right over Jose Bautista, who did not slide. But Sogard did a good job of clearing himself at second base.
Yeah, Jose Bautista ran standing up into second base, and he's fortunate that Sogard threw over the top of him. Second double play of the night for the Athletics. Adam Lind had a double to left his first time up. Pops this one up, playable on the left side. Alberto Callaspo, the third baseman, makes the catch. Bautista gets the leadoff single. Blue Jays 3 up, 3 down in the 6th. Dickey trails by 1. Is the official app of Major League Baseball. Listen to live audio, follow games pitch by pitch, and enjoy in-game video highlights. The app is available on the iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, Android, and BlackBerry. Season-long subscription packages are available. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. Bottom of the sixth, Oakland has a 2-1 lead. Alberto Callaspo, number 2 batter. Takes a strike. It's 1-1. R.A. Dickey has allowed just 3 hits. He's kept the A's in check in that department. This is popped up behind home. Tolley has room, and he makes the catch. It is a very tough sky here in Oakland, and it always has been the situation where defenders have trouble with pop-ups and fly balls. Even in twilight like this, you can see there is not a cloud in the sky, and there is no depth perception whatsoever.
There's no background to give you an idea where that ball was, and it looked like it caught Josh Tolley by surprise, like he saw it right at the last instant. Wait till tomorrow, the day game tomorrow.
Well, of course, the one image I have is way back in 1973 in the World Series. Willie Mays was playing in center field here, and Willie Mays got beaten by a fly ball. It was always a tough sun field, still is. Oakland and the Mets in the World Series. Yoenis Cespedes has gone 0 for 2 so far. The 3 hits Dickey allowed came in that second inning after he had a leadoff walk to Moss. Vogt hit a double. This is popped up way down the right side and hits in the warning track. The A's first run scored on a pass ball charge to Josh Tolley the second. Nate Fryman hit a fly ball into right center. Anthony Ghost dove for it, couldn't make the catch. RBI single.
Yeah, all 3 hits, you can argue, Blue Jays could have made plays on it. Edwin Encarnacion misjudged the ball. That was a double for the first hit, and then Ghost, it went right off of his glove for that hit. And then Sogard hit that pop-up. That Kawasaki dropped, backpedaling on it. 3 missed plays that ended up being base hits.
Yeah, good point. If you have your regulars in the field, you could possibly be throwing a no-hitter.
Yep.
Full count, 1 out. There's a high fly ball into center. Ghost waiting on it. 2 down. Let's check in with Eric Smith. He's got another update for us.
Now batting right fielder, number 37, Brandon Moss.
Chris Davis has had a bit of a rough patch, that RBI number 42, but he was out yesterday working on his stroke with Buck Showalter and Jim Presley, the hitting coach. But he picks up an RBI against his former team, the Texas Rangers.
He's the kind of guy that can go crazy.
Brandon Moss drives it to left field, steps on the bag, and Encarnacion's got a strong arm, but it's offline. Moss, a hustle double. His first hit of the night. Well, there's a good example of a guy aware of Encarnacion being out of position in left field.
And if you're not used to it, this is tough to get over there like Edwin does. Catches the ball. Now you got to pick up the base, and you have to be accurate. Edwin has plenty of arm. As you can see, it's just offline. And Moss is thinking double. As soon as this ball leaves his bat, he's thinking 2 right here. I'm going to challenge Edwin Encarnacion. I'm going to make him try and throw me out.
Chet Lowry swings at the first pitch and misses. Lowry has flied out and struck out. Another good knuckleball. Dickey's had a good knuckleball all night long.
Yeah, his last few starts, I think his knuckleball has been outstanding. He's got good movement, and all you have to do is watch Josh Tolley. If he has trouble catching it, you know his knuckleball's really good.
Yeah, nobody has caught Dickey as much as Josh Tolley, and he knows how to handle that knuckleball. But when it's really dancing, even Tolley is challenged. Tolley was charged with a pass ball that allowed Stephen Vogt to score back in the second. Dickey threw the slow knuckleball right there, and Jed Lowry was able to get a piece of it.
Yeah, just look at the miles per hour. 66 miles per hour. He'll mix that in every now and then. Throw off the timing of that batter. Not a bad idea. And then he'll come back with the firmer knuckleball, try and get the strikeout.
There it is. 79 miles an hour, a little bit extra on the knuckleball. He gets a big strikeout. The A's leave a runner in scoring position. We'll go to the seventh. It's still a one-run game. Take advantage of their rich history, and they have the Hall of Famers, Rollie Fingers, Dennis Eckersley, and Ricky Anderson in the mascot race going around the field. And those three are three of the numbers that have been retired by the Oakland Athletics. Catfish Hunter in 91, number 27. Rollie Fingers, his number retired in 93. Reggie Jackson, number 9, of course, great right fielder. Eckersley found a new home here as a reliever. 2005, Ricky Anderson, and here's the end of the race.
How about Rollie Fingers? He got stopped, and Ricky, what's new? Wins again.
Fingers stopped to sign a couple autographs. Juan Francisco makes a first pitch curveball from Bury. Francisco, Kawasaki, and Gose. We're in the seventh. Sonny Gray, over his last 7 starts, had gone just 2-2, and his ERA was 4.70. It had been hit around a little bit. The appeal down to third base. Gabe Morales had no swing as Francisco was able to lay off that curveball.
Well, the Oakland A's are doing what the Blue Jays are doing with their young starters. When there is an off day, they're not skipping anybody. They're keeping everybody on track. They're just giving them that extra day off, stretch them out just a little bit, and keep the innings down.
That time he chased that hard curveball. One down here in the seventh. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. The New Bay Bridge spanning the link between San Francisco and Oakland. The new bridge is on the left. The old bridge is being removed. And, of course, many people remember during the earthquake here, that old bridge, the top section, collapsed onto the bottom section as that whole Bay Area was hit hard by that earthquake. 1988. Munenori Kawasaki. It was 89, excuse me. But it was a devastating earthquake. Really hit the East Bay hard. Nice grab by Fryman at first. Nate Fryman taking advantage of his 6'7" height.
And reach also. He's got long arms, and this time he's going to go up and take away what looked like extra bases from Munenori Kawasaki. You can see how tall Fryman is at first base.
Fryman's actually 6'8", so he had plenty of room to stretch high for that line drive. That looked like could have been 2 for sure. Anthony Ghost starting in center field tonight against Gray, the right-hander. Colby Rasmus injured his wrist attempting a catch at Rogers Center, and he was unavailable to start this game. Going to be interesting because the Blue Jays play 3 left-handers the next 3 days here. Rasmus hopefully will be able to return to the lineup. Tommy Malone, Scott Kazmir, and Brad Mills will be the scheduled starters the next 3 days here in Oakland, all left-handed. Goes, drives it to right. Moss is there. Quick inning for Gray. 3 up, 3 down in the 7th. Check out Michael Grange's reaction to the signing of Kyle Lowry. He says the Raptors have sent a message to the rest of the NBA. You can read it right now on sportsnet.ca. Good news for the Raptors. Michael Grange breaks it all down and tells you the impact and the message it sends to the rest of the NBA. We are headed to the bottom of the 7th. Oakland has a 2-1 lead. Both teams with just 4 hits. Pitchers have been on their game. R.A. Dickey gave up 2 runs on 2 hits and a leadoff walk in the 2nd. He has pitched well again tonight.
I'd say R.A. Dickey started the season, so he's the #1 pitcher for the Blue Jays. And Sonny Gray, I'd put him in the category as their #1 this year. And this is how you pitch.
Sonny Gray was the opening day starter for Oakland. became the 5th youngest opening day starter in Oakland history. Pretty good names in that list as well. Vida Blue, Catfish Hunter, Trevor Cahill, and Blue Moon Odom.
Colorful. Colorful names.
Catfish Hunter. Real name?
Jim.
Blue Moon Odom.
John.
Very strong. The late Catfish Hunter, of course, his number's retired. He's from the Hall of Fame. Raleigh Fingers, number 34, longtime closer here. And Dennis Eckersley, number 43. Eck started out with the Indians as a starter. Good crowd on hand here at O.K Coliseum. They're going to have fireworks after this game, and a day ahead of the 4th of July. Tomorrow is a day game.
I tell you, I hate to play in the outfield here because the fans, they're very creative out there getting on you.
Stephen Vogt lifts it to left field, and Encarnacion is there. He makes the catch. Edwin makes the catch easily. 1 down.
You never had to worry about that, did you, when you were a catcher? You could never hear the fans getting
Never
on.
hear the fans. Nope.
You're so far away from it, but you stand in front of these guys right here, and from the first pitch to the last pitch, they're all over you, calling you names, being creative, and if you turn around and say something to them,
then they really get on you.
Then you're meat. You're done.
Nate Fryman. He is a 6'8" first baseman with some power. And you see his batting stance now. He has dropped his hands down. He used to hold his hands high over his shoulder, but Ricky Henderson, who's working as a roving instructor in the minor leagues, suggested that Fryman drop his hands into that current position. And he looks dangerous now.
Yeah, when you're down like that, the only thing you can do is bring them up to hit the baseball. And he was launching balls today in batting practice. Got lots of power.
Fryman comes out of Duke University, and he left Duke a year before Marcus Stroman arrived. But they know each other, and they have crossed paths, of course, when they return to the campus in North Carolina. There's a drive well found. Fryman's wife, Amanda, also went to Duke, and she was a golfer. And she has become a professional golfer. Marcus Stroman was telling me earlier today that they were both brilliant. He said they were both terrific students, and he admired both of them for their study work. Fryman strikes out, 5th strikeout for R.A. Dickey.
Who isn't brilliant if you go to Duke?
Right. Maybe the most brilliant of all is Mike Krzyzewski, the basketball coach. He knew exactly what he was doing when he went to Duke. Eric Sogard has an infield hit. Actually had a pop-up hit that was off the glove of Munenori Kawasaki behind second in the outfield. This has popped out of play. Marcus Stroman will start tomorrow afternoon against the left-hander Tommy Malone.
~61 miles an hour on that eephus knuckleball. How about that? Look at that. 61. Now reach back.
He did. 79. That's a good split. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Dickey trying to get out of the 7th. And he will. Back-to-back strikeouts. That's how Dickey ends the 7th. We'll go to the 8th. The Blue Jays are down by a run. Terrific pitchers duel here in Oakland. The knuckleball is really dancing. Oakland O.co Stadium, as the Blue Jays and the A's have played a terrific game. All the runs scored in the second inning, and it was an interesting inning. The Blue Jays scored a run on a very controversial play.
Yeah, tag at first base, and then what looked like a force out at home plate. That run was put on the board. I think on this road trip, this is how the games are going to go. You're going to run into some great pitching from all of the teams that the Blue Jays are going to face. They're going to have to come up with a big game offensively, I think, against some of these great pitchers.
Dan Otero into the ball game to start the 8th inning, and he has put together a heck of a season. He's 6-1. Sonny Gray out of the ball game after 7 strong innings. That second inning, the Blue Jays scored a run on a fielder's choice. Anthony Gose got the RBI, and then there was a lengthy review. R.A. Dickey spent 24 minutes on the bench in the top half of that inning. He came out and walked the first batter that inning. That led to a 2-run A's bottom half of the second. All the runs scoring in that inning.
And they're playing this game under protests.
Oakland has protested this game because of the ruling regarding that controversial play at the plate. Josh Thole rips it up the middle. Tolley's second hit of the night. Sonny Gray is out of the ball game. He goes 7 strong innings, allows just 1 run on 4 hits, walked 3, struck out 5, and threw 95 pitches. A little bit of a bounce back for Gray, who has experienced a bit of a downturn coming into this game. His previous 7 starts, he had gone 2-2 with a 4.70 ERA.
Yeah, struggled just a little bit at the return of the curveball tonight for Sonny Gray. Curveball was working. 5 strikeouts.
Reyes shows bunt and takes a ball.
Now it's up to their bullpen, and that hit by Thole, well, you never know what it's going to do. You got the number 9 guy, he gets a base hit, he gets it started. Pitcher just enters the game. You turn the lineup over. Now the 4 best hitters in the Blue Jays lineup can get something going.
Thole's second hit of the night. He came in this ball game 0 for 21. He's 2 for 3 tonight. Both of his hits have been leadoff singles. Exactly what you hope to get from your number 9 hitter.
Yeah, turn that lineup over. Let those guys hit at the top of the lineup with guys on base.
Melky Cabrera will be next. There's a drive to right. Moss back. He gets there and makes the catch. Thole was all the way to second. He's got to scramble back. There's the tag, and Thole is out. Josh Thole went all the way to second base. Brandon Moss playing in right field. Just the 17th start in right for Moss. Made a nice running catch.
He's doing his best imitation of Josh Reddick, the Gold Glove right fielder for the Oakland A's. When that ball left the bat of Jose Reyes, it looked like a double all the way. It dies in right field. Moss makes the catch and then has the presence of mind to wheel and throw to first base. And that long reach by Fryman finishes off the double play.
That's the 4th outfield assist for Brandon Moss. And watch Thole. He thinks it's going to be over the head of the right fielder and goes too far.
Yeah, he started his turn already, thinking that that's an extra base hit. And caught off of first base. So an inning that looked like it was starting to look pretty for the Blue Jays. A leadoff single and a bullet to right field. Now 2 outs, nobody on.
24th outfield assist, second only to the Arizona Diamondbacks, who have 25. Melky Cabrera batting with 2 outs. Cabrera has done a great job of covering that outside corner with 2 strikes. We have seen this time and time again where he'll just wave at that outside pitch, foul it off, and then get a good pitch and drill it.
Just foul it off, keep the at-bat alive. Wait for that pitcher to make a mistake.
Bouncing ball up the middle. Lowry with a nice play on the short hop. What a turnaround for the A's. Blue Jays get a leadoff single. They get a line double play. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Eric Smith and Greg Zahn. Blue Jays Tumbler Cup giveaway will take place Sunday, July 20th when the Blue Jays take on the Texas Rangers. It's a 107 start. The first 20,000 fans will receive a Blue Jays Tumbler Cup. Call the Jays for tickets at 416-341-1234 or log online at bluejays.com to order your tickets for Blue Jays Tumbler Cup giveaway day, Sunday, July 20th. R.A. Dickey back to work the bottom of the 8th. It'll be 9-1-2 for Oakland. Craig Gentry has gone 0 for 2. R.A. Dickey's been good tonight. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, couple of walks, had 6 strikeouts. There's a base hit to left field. Encarnacion will play him out high.
You know, he has pitched well enough that he deserves to stay out there and try and win the game for the Blue Jays. You see Pete Walker right on the phone right after that leadoff single. But it's a cool night. You don't get tired here in Oakland. It's a great pitcher's ballpark. He's earned the right to try and get through this and win the game.
Gentry can really run at first. 15 for 15 in steal attempts. They have a lot of options here now. Sergio Santos takes his jacket off. He's going to start to loosen up behind R.A. Dickey. There's a base hit. Gentry is quickly around second. He's being waved around third. Melky Cabrera's throw to Kawasaki. The relay is not in time. Ball gets away from Tolley. Jaso goes to third, and Oakland has an insurance run here in the 8th.
Craig Gentry can really run. He was flying around those bases. As soon as the ball got over the head of the first baseman, he knew that he had a chance to score. Down into the corner, he's coming around second base. He's thinking about scoring all the way. Mike Gallego sends him, and here comes the throw. And when it gets by Josh Tolley, the batter moves up to third base. So Jaso stands at third with nobody out.
Jaso's 12th double drives in his 25th run. Callaspo rips it into the A's bullpen.
You could see he had already stopped at second base, but when the throw bounced off of Josh Tolley, the catcher, he's going to move up a very important 90 feet, I think, for the Oakland A's.
Kawasaki is charged with the error that allowed Jaso to go to third. Dickey's ahead 0-2. The infield is in. to left. Encarnacion hurrying back. He makes the catch. Tagging at third is Jason. He'll come in to score the second run here in the 8th. Sac fly for Callaspo. He drives in his 27th run of the season.
Good situational hitting right there. Callaspo was looking for a pitch up, and he had a little bit of an uppercut in his swing to get that ball up into the air. Drives Edwin all the way back to the warning track, takes one quick glance where he is, and hauls it in for the first down.
Blue Jays have some questions to answer with Bautista banged up. Lind appears to be hobbling around with that foot problem. How long can you play when your players aren't 100%? Bautista is not really ready to play in right yet. You want to keep Lind's bat in the lineup. Same for Encarnacion.
It's going to change starting tomorrow for the Blue Jays. They get 3 lefties in a row again. So we'll probably see a totally different alignment defensively for the Blue Jays tomorrow night. We'll probably see Edwin back at first base. Brad Glenn or Mastriani will probably be in the outfield somewhere. Steve Tollison's bat will be in the lineup. Some decisions.
There might be some reinforcements. Brett Cecil is rumored to be back on his way to Oakland. He can be activated tomorrow. His time on the DL is up.
Eric Kratz's name, we have heard his name possibly on his way here with the left-handers that they're going to see here the next 3 days.
Sharply hit on the ground. 2 hops for Reyes. Cespedes is out. 2 down. Sean Doolittle, the closer, is loosening up. And they have had some changes down in their bullpen, and Doolittle has taken over. Doolittle has 11 saves, and he has been a good addition to this bullpen. In case you're wondering, the Baltimore Orioles have won tonight. They beat Texas 5-2. Wei-Yin Chen improves to 8-3 on the season. Zach Britton picked up his 12th save.
Didn't they beat Yu Darvish?
Not tonight.
Not tonight. Thought I saw he was pitching.
Scott Baker started for Texas tonight. Baker went 4 2/3, charged with 3 earned runs. Steve Pearce, what a addition he has been, and Pearce had an opportunity to go out of the organization. He was designated for assignment. He chose to stay in the organization, and now he's back in the big leagues. He had 4 hits tonight and 5 at-bats. Brandon Moss takes ball 4. He walks for a second time tonight. That's the 3rd walk issued by Dickey.
Number 8, yeah, Lowry.
Santos should be ready.
Well, you saw Pete Walker there signal one more right here. They have handled Jed Lowry tonight. A couple of strikeouts and a fly ball. But you're right, Santos is ready. I think if they lose Lowry, we'll see him into the ballgame.
Well, the reason you send Dickey out there in this inning is to give him an opportunity for the Blue Jays to come back and possibly pick up a win. And so you'd like to be able to stick with him. I mean, he's down by 3. Blue Jays can erase 3 in a heartbeat. When you look at the top of the 9th, it'll be Bautista, Encarnacion, and Lynn. Doolittle, the left-hander, will be into the game more than likely. Yonder Navarro putting his hitting gloves on just in case. Lowry's had no fun against Dickey tonight.
No, he looks very uncomfortable. His timing is all messed up by the knuckleball. 124 pitches for RA. He's pitched a good game.
He sure has. He's had to deal with that long delay, and that cost him 2 runs early. Season high in pitches for R.A. Dickey. Up the middle, Kawasaki will go to the bag, and the inning is over. Oakland gets 2 big insurance runs. Here in the bottom of the 8th, we'll go to the 9th. It'll be Bautista, Encarnacion, and Lind against Doolittle when we come back.
Your attention, please.
The 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
In a 1-1 game, a 1-run game, the Oakland A's need an insurance run, and John Jaso's going to deliver. Runner on first base, and he slams that ball down the right field line. Craig Gentry's going to come all the way around to score a big insurance run for the Oakland A's. He would have come around to score then on sacrifice fly to make it a 3-run game. Our drive of the game brought to you by John Jaso tonight.
Making a lot of the Oakland faithful very happy. And this is a very colorful group out in right field. And a lot of personalities on the team, a lot of personalities in the bleachers. Sean Doolittle, the closer, on to pitch tonight.
Sean Doolittle is going to come right after you with a fastball. He will challenge you. 11 for 14 in saves this year, an ERA under 3. How about the strikeouts in the walks? He has 2 walks all season long and 57 strikeouts. Basically, he's going to come after you. He's going to challenge you with that good fastball.
There's the first pitch fastball. Sights are trying to get the attention of the hitters on deck. Be aggressive early is exactly what he said. And Doolittle is aggressive early. Bautista behind 0-2.
He's one of the most aggressive relievers, I think, in baseball when you watch him pitch. He does have a breaking ball, but he rarely uses it.
Doolittle wasn't converted to a pitcher until late in 2011. He was a position player and a pretty good hitter. 3-pitch strikeout for Doolittle. 1 down. Now for a preview of what's coming up next on Connected. Here's Ivanka Osmak and Hugh Burrell.
Number 10, Edwin Encarnacion.
Thank you, Hugh. Great news for Eugenie Bouchard. She's going to the finals of Wimbledon. And when Encarnacion has extended his hit streak to 11 straight, he singled and scored in the second. The only Blue Jay to cross the plate.
And that took some time. And we weren't sure it was going to happen.
As we mentioned, the Orioles have won tonight. If the A's hold on and win, There will be a first place tie in the East. Encarnacion behind 1-2. The Blue Jays have held sole possession of first place for 42 consecutive days. Doolittle made the conversion to pitcher because of a couple of injuries. There you see Thomason out on deck. He would bat for Lynn. Foul back.
This is exactly what the Oakland A's needed. They needed somebody to come in and close for them. They thought they had it in Jim Johnson, but that didn't work out. Sean Doolittle has come in and done a great job for them.
Breaking ball hit high in the air in left field. Cespedes at the warning track. He's got room. 2-0. Steve Tallison, the former A, will come off the bench and bat for Adam Lynn. Lynn went 1 for 3.
Batting for Lynn, number 18, Steve Tallison.
Tallison played for Oakland in 2010. Split time between Sacramento and AAA. Played 25 games with Oakland.
Tough to go up there and take pitches because he doesn't walk anybody.
Upstairs, 1-2. Sonny Gray looking for his 8th win. He had 7 strong innings. Doolittle looking for his 12th save.
Trying to get Steve Tallison to bite on that high fastball. He throws it up there for a purpose.
Brad Glenn is on deck. If Thomason can keep the inning alive. Oakland. Fouled off. Strikeouts in the ninth. Picks up his 12th save. Sonny Gray improves to 8-3. Nice defensive play by Brandon Moss. Maybe the turning point in the game.
Yeah, I think so. This is what the Oakland A's have been doing all season long. They get a good pitch game from their starter. Their defense turns 3 double play, and they get just enough hitting to take the first game in this series.
Game number 2 tomorrow afternoon, 4th of July. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Stay tuned. Connected coming right up. Here's Ivanka Osmak and Hugh Burrow.